Chief, will you lead us in the flag? Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to call the village board meeting November 2nd, 2021 to order at 6 p.m. Chief?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Roll call, Allison.
Trustee Herron.
Here.
Trustee Lindy.
Here.
Trustee Shomas.
Here.
Trustee Walter.
Here.
Trustee White.
Here.
Trustee Bonnie.
Here.
President Cohen.
Here. We have a quorum. Thank you. We have no public hearings this evening. Under appointments and presentations, we have the reappointment for the Aurora Airport Advisory Board. So I would like to reappoint Joe Wolf for this position. Is there any discussion from the board members? Joe obviously has been a long time resident of Sugar Grove and very involved with the Village Board of Trustees as well as the Airport Advisory Board, and is continuing to keep us up to date on what's happening in the airport. So we appreciate that and your commitment to the village. Thank you. So can I get a motion to appoint Joe Wolf to the Aurora Advisory, the Aurora Airport Advisory Board?
As stated. Second.
First out of Trustee Shomas and a second out of Trustee Herron. Roll call, please.
Trustee Shomas.
Aye.
Trustee Herron.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy.
Aye.
Trustee Walter.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right. Airport report, Mr. Wolf. I don't know, Mike, if you move his back, maybe even to the podium, you know. That probably helps your eyesight as well across the table.
Well, I'd like to thank you for appointing me to the airport board. I've been on it a long time, and I've enjoyed it. It's been very good to be on this board. I really appreciate it. Given my reports, sometimes I wonder if I drag on too long, if it's relevant, if I should have some direction of what your interests are in the board, because, you know, I make comments and things and ideas, and I'm not sure that how well they go over with the board, whether it's, you know, because I'm pro-airport, pro-growth, and things like that, I'm not sure if, you know, sometimes my ideas fit in, or if you're just being polite. So, you know, I would like some feedback about my types of reports. If it's, you know, if they're not relevant, I'd like to know that. Being on the board, it's kind of a different board because we don't have any goals as such. We have an agenda, but the agenda is more filler. It's not what we're about. So I spend a lot of time talking to people over the years of what's really going on, so we know what is going on. Because, you know, they put things like junk airplanes on the airport board report, and it's been there for 15 years. It's not ever do anything but. So that's the type of things we put on the agenda that we're not ever going to do anything about. But we do things, but it's kind of off the cuff, and people have different agendas, and you have to know the people involved and what's going on. So it's a learning process, and you know, but it's doing well. It's going to be busier. I would like. I talked to. I talked to COVID guy a while back, and he wanted to know about what's going on in Sugar Grove. And we talked about the town center. He wanted to know about it, and I says, when information became available, I'd get that information to him. And you have information available at the next meeting, and you could share it with some people. I don't know if this is the right time or not, or later on. But the one thing the airport is, people in the airport are interested, is what's going on in Sugar Grove, strangely enough, you know, but they are. So, you know, I would give that to Culver, and I would probably share it with the JA Air also. It doesn't have to be much, but whatever you have in the next few meetings, if you have something. Just on a personal note, I saw Dr. Shaw last week, and she said that everything's good and I don't have to come back for 6 months. So she's at Northwestern, you know. So after 7 years, I don't even ask why anymore. It's just, you know, the last time she says, well, the Lord don't want you. We have things that do here.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Yes.
that's what she said. I leave it at that. Just my faith coming out. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the credit. Thank you for the credit appointment.
Thank you for continuing to do it. We appreciate it. You are very knowledgeable, and you have lots of good, valuable information to share with us. And I hear you.
I don't pretend to be knowledgeable about aviation or the airport. I'm just faking.
It's working for you. It's working. Well, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Joe and the airport? Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't have a question, but a comment. I know that we were in a meeting, Heidi, Jen and I were in a meeting 2 or 3 weeks ago where there was talk of moving dirt or something. And your airport reports, sometimes knowing what's going on out there, if we have something else going on, an example of moving topsoil or something out there for a project that they might have out at the airport. All of the stuff that you give, so it may be more information than we can do anything with right now, but having that in our back pocket as other things come up around the village, knowing what's going on out there, and I think if they knew more of what we were doing here, we could definitely have some partnerships on projects. So we may not always appreciate it in the moment, but when other meetings are happening, maybe not during the village board meetings, your information is valuable. So I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
It is helpful. Honestly, and what you're referring to, I think, is a project that a developer presented to us about 50,000 extra cubic yards. So we talked about that in our conversation with JA Air. They might want to do something where they need some dirt, they need some fill. So, you know, I thought of Hanford Farm, but that's gone. And so if there's another project where there's going to be excess dirt and we can move it and keep it within the village and it's needed here, then that's great. So, well, but I do hear you. Direction from the board is what you need specifically on different things that we're trying to accomplish. So we will work on that, Joe. Thank you. Next up, we have public comments on items scheduled for action. On tonight's agenda, under consent agenda, we have approval of the minutes of the October 19th Village Board meeting, approval of the vouchers, approval of the 2022 Village meeting calendar, a resolution at Melissa 47 intersection project for professional services agreement change order, a resolution authorizing release of public improvements guarantee for point assisted living. Item F, resolution authorizing the purchase of LED streetlights for Windsor West. Item G, resolution endorsing the 2021 climate action plan for the Chicago region. Under general business, we have an ordinance granting a special use to operate a storage container rental business at 6 Main Street. We have an ordinance subject to attorney review on that item. Ordinance, item B, an ordinance amending outdoor storage fencing requirements subject to attorney review, and also an ordinance approving a zoning variations for 6 Main Street subject to attorney review. Item D, ordinance updating the village code ethics. Item E, approval, announcement of the tax levy for 2021. Are there any public comments on any of those items that I just listed? Public comments? Okay, going once, going twice. So, no public comments at this time. Are there any board members that would like to remove any items under the consent agenda? Okay, having heard none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as previously stated?
So moved. Second.
So moved and second.
Okay, I wasn't sure who the second was from. I got first out of trustee Aaron. I can't see now. Trustee Aaron's the first and trustee Walter is the second. Roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee Aaron.
Aye.
Trustee Walter.
Aye.
Trustee White.
Aye.
Trustee Lindy. Aye. Trustee Shomas.
Aye.
Trustee Vaughn.
Aye.
Excellent. Motion passes. Thank you. Under general business, first item, we have an ordinance granting a special use to operate a storage container rental business at 6 Main Street. Walter.
The ordinance that's before you incorporates all of the changes and additions that the village board discussed at its September 21st meeting. One of the requests that the board made at that time was that the applicant provide written authorization from IDOT to use their property for the purposes of a special use permit. I can report that village staff has made contact with IDOT and explained what we're looking for. They've indicated no resistance to providing the written authorization. We just don't have it in hand yet. So that's one of the reasons why we're requesting that this be approved subject to attorney review. I guess that's all I need to say about this one. Well, the other thing I will add is at your positions at the table is a revised ordinance for the special use permit, reflecting some corrections that trustee White had requested.
Okay, so item 7, obviously, as an add, is in the ordinance, so no need to state that, right? So that's good. Is there any discussion on this item? Having discussed it, it seems like it nauseating a little bit, at the board meetings and in discussions with staff. So, no additional comments at this time? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the ordinance granting a special use to operate a storage container rental business at 6 Main Street, subject to attorney review?
As stated.
Trustee Shomas?
Second.
And a second on trustee Aaron. Roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee Shomas.
Aye.
Trustee Aaron.
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Trustee White.
No.
Trustee Lindy. Aye. Trustee Walter.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-1 on that. Thank you. Next item, item B, an ordinance amending the outdoor storage fencing requirements. subject to attorney review. Walter?
Really not much to add here, since there was little discussion concerning it, and so the ordinance is presented for your approval.
Okay, so now this one. Any discussion? Okay, can I get a motion to approve as previously stated?
So moved. Second.
First up, trustee Heron, and a second out of trustee Shomas. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Heron,
Aye.
trustee Shomas,
Aye.
trustee Walter,
Aye.
trustee Bonnie,
Aye.
trustee White,
No.
trustee Lindy. Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. 5-1 on that as well. Okay. Next item C, ordinance approving the zoning variations at 6 Main Street, subject to attorney review. Walter?
The only thing I'll add here is, well, like the special use permit ordinance, we added additional conditions that the village board requested, and at your places is a revised version of the ordinance reflecting some corrections that trustee White had asked for, and this one also would be approved subject to attorney review.
I added section 4, at the MMS should be changed to reference of CFC.
Parallels of cutting and pasting.
Yeah, no, that's
CFP. CFC. Okay. Any discussion on this item? Okay. Hearing none. Can I get a motion to approve this ordinance approving the zoning variation at 6 Main Street with item 4, MMS being changed to CFC and subject to attorney review?
So moved.
First on trustee Heron,
Second.
second on trustee Shomas. Roll call, please.
Trustee Heron,
Aye.
trustee Shomas,
Aye.
trustee Lindy, trustee White,
No.
trustee Walter,
Aye.
trustee Bonnie.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. 5-1 on that. Next, we have an ordinance updating the village code for ethics. Allison.
So this ordinance reflects the discussion that was held at the last board meeting to switch out the president pro tem for the backup person to appoint a commission should the president fail to do so rather than the administrator. We did talk about it at the last meeting, having it go out to the nth degree for all of the trustees. However, staff discussed it and for timing and just based to make it clear, and I know that trustee White had talked about just doing it at the next board meeting. We wrote in that option that should those two, the president and the president pro tem, not act on the complaint, it would go before the next regular board meeting or a special meeting could be called.
Makes sense. Is there any additional discussion on this item? No? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the ordinance updating the village code under ethics? First on trustee White,
Second.
and second on trustee Heron. Roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee White,
Yes.
trustee Heron,
Aye.
trustee Bonnie, trustee Walter,
Aye.
trustee Lindy, trustee Shomas.
Aye.
Excellent, motion passes, thank you. Up next, we have approval of the announcement of the tax levy for 2021. Matt?
Yes, so at the last meeting, we had discussions regarding the tax levy process, as well as how we would like to proceed. So this is presented in a way with the balloon levy. The amount for the 2021 tax levy is $3,738,516. That's a 29.5% increase over the previous year that we received. However, that does include bonds that will be abated, but the actual anticipated collection is 2.6% above what we received last year. CPI was only 1.4, so we're that plus new construction, we're looking at about a 2.6% increase actually. And that results about a little over $47,000 in total for the village-wide. And then you also have in front of you the levy for the Mallet Point Rolling Oaks assessment, which is SBA 17. That's a tax levy in the amount of $75,218.92. And we are not levying taxes again for SSA 10, as the reserves are still enough to cover the annual maintenance. So until that reserve is depleted, those taxes have not been levied for, this is now the fourth year.
How many more years do you think we have under the SSA 10 for maintenance? How many more years can we cover?
Probably
Forever.
Well, it's maintaining their drainage detention. And
No, I'm saying how much fund down?
oh, I thought you meant how long was it going to go on? Sorry.
No, it's okay.
probably about 4 years.
4 more years.
3 to 4 more years. Barring anything major that happens out there. But.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this item? No, I think just keep it in your back pocket. I know that I had calls, people were freaking out with that balloon levy, so I think it was explained. Please refer any residents back to this board meeting or even last board meeting. I think was very clear as to why we did it, so.
Well, and included is a sample property tax bill that breaks it down to show what the actual, and that's such an easy way to explain it.
Thank you for adding that.
Great visually.
And for the record, it's $12.55, correct?
Annually.
Okay.
Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the announcement of the tax levy for 2021?
Second.
Trustee White, the second out of Trustee Heron. Roll call, Allison.
Trustee White?
Aye.
Trustee Heron?
Aye.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Walter?
Aye.
Trustee Lindy?
Aye. Motion passes, thank you. Next up, we have public comment on any items that were discussed this evening. It seems quick. As well as anything in general or a discussion items that we have not gotten to yet, which is the detached garage height variance request for 112 Meadow. Are there any public comments at this time? I'm just saying, well, we're setting records tonight, folks. Going on all that here.
We'll be here till 9.
Yeah. All right, hearing none, we will move on to our discussion items, which is the detached garage height variance request at 112 Meadows. Walter.
The resident, Jared Kowalczyk, currently has a couple collector cars that he stores off-site, and he desires to bring them to his property, and he wants to construct a garage to accommodate them. And because of the amount of improvements that are on his property, between decks and patios, other hard surfaces, and the shed, and some other structures that are on the property, he's limited in size of the footprint. And so in order to accommodate his cars, he intends to put a car lift in the garage. And in order to accommodate that, the garage height needs to be increased several feet, 2 feet, to accommodate that. So he's requested a zoning variation to increase the height from 15 feet to the maximum height from 15 to 17 feet. In the board report, I explained that the ZBA generally had no issue with the height variation. They did have a fair amount of discussion concerning the fact that Mr. Kowalczyk doesn't intend to construct a garage to this basically storage building. But the fact of the matter is the zoning ordinance doesn't require the construction of the garage, or the driveway to the garage. Believe it or not, we do have several similar situations throughout the community. It's not common, but it does occur. And while we haven't had any adverse problems, if they were to occur, meaning if somebody was driving to and from a garage that didn't have a driveway and was creating a mess, with ruts and creating mud and things like that, that would be a property maintenance issue, and then we would enforce it at that point. As it relates to the driveway that's not being proposed at this time, if Mr. Kowalczyk or a future owner of the property should determine that a driveway is desirable or necessary, there is room to build a driveway. But one of the problems that we've identified with this application, and we've advised Mr. Kowalczyk of this, that the construction of the driveway likely is going to exceed the maximum lot coverage on the lot and will require a zoning variation at that time. So, just trying to make sure everybody understands that, there are going to be other issues that are going to be dealt with in the future.
Thank you, Walter. Discussion.
Well, how big would it be for the driveway? If they did have to come in for something on the driveway, what impact would that have on it? And why do we have the 45% if they went over a couple of percent? Is that a big deal?
It depends on how much you go over. I guess is the simplest answer to the question. The other thing to consider is if this property owner or future property owner wanted to construct a driveway, there are alternative paving methods that they could use that would reduce the coverage. There may be ways around maximum lot coverage on the lot to accommodate the driveway.
I just expected that when they do sell, someone's going to come in. That's what
That's our expectation too. That's why we brought it up and advised him.
I had questions for Danny, and she was really great, quite frankly. Addressing, so thank you for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item?
So there's no concern as far as grading of the property and drainage affecting the adjacent properties there?
No.
If they go over, if we put a driveway in, then you've got an impervious surface that goes over, and then that's where you get concerned of drainage.
Yeah, those are the issues that would be dealt with at the time of construction. But the construction of the garage on this particular lot doesn't present any further issues.
I guess I just sit back and think, so we're gonna, I don't know what they, it sounds like they want it for storage, right? But let's just say that all of a sudden it becomes how is the village gonna actually monitor that with driving and ruts and?
The neighbors will let us know.
Yeah, I just rather go into it with that particular property owner, eyes wide open, like, if this becomes a problem, we're gonna require a driveway. I meant to drive by it, and I haven't had that opportunity, so before this comes back in front of us, I will do so.
What would be the threshold that the board would have to do if that came up and we had to ask them to install the driveway if it's getting more usage coming and going? Maybe not the existing one, maybe whoever comes in there next decides that's a great place for an entertainment room.
If they wear a path in the lawn to get to the garage, that's going to be the red flag.
And it's funny, I'm hearing other stuff, but this is about height.
Yeah, right.
This is about
Well,
height variance, but yeah.
That's, the path that the conversation at the ZBA went to.
Yeah.
Nobody had a problem with a small increase in height. It was a question about, why not driveway?
Yeah. Any additional discussion on this? Questions, concerns?
Do we have any, okay, I'm gonna just go down that road again. That driveway. Is there any limitation on which side this driveway would have to be on? Because it looks like they're gonna have to cut across the front of the house.
Exactly.
East and go to the left.
It would have to be on the opposite side of the house.
And directly to the street at that point?
Well, no, it can't, if you only have the one driveway access.
Well, but the code allows the village board to grant exceptions to that requirement.
Can you repeat that one time?
If somebody wanted to have more than one driveway on their property, they could approach the village board for approval.
I think we really put it over the five corners.
Yeah.
They have to have some of the boards, whatever that,
I don't know.
As long as
You're
they're,
right about height.
Yeah.
I don't know, sure.
as long as their eyes are wide open with regard to, if they wear down what appears to be a driveway, and they're tracking mud and they're doing different things, it's gonna become an issue for the village. And I would hate for them to be like, why are you bothering me? You know, when they came asking for a variance, so.
Do we all get to test drive the vehicles that are strong? That's what I really want to see.
They're pushing it, we could have the help.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, is there not a non-issue with the height at this point? Non-issue with the height, so it sounds like you can bring it back over, that no one has an issue with the height, so you can put it on the agenda for next meeting for approval. Let's see where we are here. Okay. We are just like cruising tonight, autopilot. Staff reports. We start there, should go backwards. Walter, I remember backwards this time. I know.
Let's see, a little different on the report. We continue working with Deco to resolve their issues to get the occupancy in the building. The propane storage tanks have been delivered to the property. They have been out there, and they failed their inspection, and so they're in the process of doing what they need to do to comply with the fire requirements for the storage tanks. The bigger issue is the heating units still haven't been delivered, so the storage tanks don't do anything because they can't be connected to anything. The delivery, the construction of the gas main to serve the building, that's still a couple months out yet.
Okay.
So I think we've done everything we can to accommodate them. They just keep running into all sorts of closed doors.
Okay, well, fingers crossed. Can you update for the record, really, the residents, where we are on the Prairie Grove Commons? I know a lot of where we stand today on Prairie Grove Commons. I know in your report says ongoing meetings, but obviously many residents have seen those zoning design changes for months and are curious.
Yeah, we should take those down because the hearing's been completed a long time ago. Well, the latest is we are trying to identify the last remaining issues that the board's going to have to weigh in on. has the details with the site development plan that we still have yet to resolve with them, but we don't consider those deal killers. We are hoping that we could bring the matter to the board for discussion at the next meeting, not action, but discussion. Basically kind of like a progress report, so that we could be in a better position to button things up for final approval.
Okay.
We also are, one of the things that's delaying the whole process is we have not received a response to our comments on the final engineering that was submitted. We've reviewed it, comments have been provided, but we haven't gotten a response back.
We got a response from IDOT. We got a response letter. Where does that stand today? I actually don't know the update of this. Is why I asked. I think you were all talking with Tony Simmons. I don't know where we are.
Two separate items. The response to IDOT is Prairie Grove Commons engineers. They're the ones who will draft the response that will review and then would be sent to IDOT.
Okay.
So that's on their end. The conversation, staff had a meeting, virtual meeting, if you will, with Tony Simmons from HR Green, who did the original, I'll call it, access study. And then Michelle was part of that meeting as well. One of the issues we're having with Prairie Grove Commons is the current and future right-of-way dedications for 47 Galena Division Extended in Van Owen. And so we met at our end to talk about if there's more movement we can make, recommend from the village's side to try to get this resolved. So that was the status of the meeting. And then there was a follow-up just recently with Michelle and Tony Simmons directly, reviewing the kind of latest we have with the plans, some of which are old from Prairie Grove Commons. So we have a regular engineering discussion on Wednesdays. Tomorrow, we're going to discuss it tomorrow, and then we'll propose that to Prairie Grove Commons. We think on some, like on Division Drive, we're comfortable with, if I get this straight, they're dedicating 66 feet of right of way. We're comfortable with that. So we can take that off the list as future. Galena, if you'll recall, the original HR Green study said that more right of way is needed to accommodate the turn lanes. And Prairie Grove Commons said, well, we don't want to do those improvements till later. And so we said, okay, if IDOT's willing to accept that, we'll accept it. If yours IDOT's okay with it, well, we're saying, well, you either got to give us the right of way now or include provisions in it that you'll give it to us later without us having to pay for it. And they've been resistant to that. So it's like, well, pick one. So we're going to go back to them and say, okay, what we're hoping to do and decide tomorrow is can we, I would say, they want to give us nothing and say, if you want something, you got to pay for it. We're like, well, we already know this is needed. We're trying to tighten up our request where it's not as open-ended as it has been previously, trying to identify, okay, it is 20 feet or whatever the number is from this point to this point. That's what we believe is the most, what we need. And then we're trying to do the same on Route 47. The question we're going to talk about tomorrow is, it is an IDOT's plan someday to widen Route 47, I believe, to 3 lanes north-south. And then you talk about the potential for a full intersection there. Well, what's the right of way that would be needed for that? So we're trying to identify essentially the minimum amount of right of way that we think would accommodate that, and say either give it to us now or specifically put a restriction. Because one of the problems is once they sell off that property, then the obligation goes to the next person. And so they don't want to encumber the property when they're selling it. We're like, well, they give it to us now. Right. We're going to kind of give them that choice. It's our concept of either give us the right of way now or encumber the property. And then on Van Owen, the question there, I think, I can't remember what they're showing. 66, but if that ever does become a full intersection, that is nowhere close to enough. So we're trying to identify what's a reasonable amount of right of way on that one. So that's what we're working on as far as roads. Probably more than you asked.
No, you know, sometimes I wish I asked before I came to the board.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's good information and.
And if I may add more?
Yeah.
So we did get a email from them. The board knows we've had conversations with them on TIP benefits and related to, I think are fair to call extraordinary development costs. And we thought we had an agreement. We got an email from them recently suggesting a format and structure that's not what we had discussed. So we're actually, we got that, I think, was that just today we got that? Yeah, so we do staff and President Conan are going to have a discussion about it tomorrow. So I did get a chance to review it today, provide my initial thoughts. But then, so we now have a new issue that if you had asked me yesterday, I would have said that one's resolved. Well, apparently that's now an open issue again because they're asking for more than we believe we previously discussed. And then there, as Walter said, there's potentially a number of other issues that we really can't say if there are or aren't until we get updated plans from them. Yes. So as much as Walter says we hope to have it to you next meeting for discussion, that is true. But I would say, personally, I would say the odds of that happening are 50-50 at best.
I can weigh in too. Just
Oh,
one more
yeah.
thing. Yeah, I think as far as the substance of the annexation agreement itself, we really honed it down, and we have, as Brett mentioned, we have a couple of these outstanding issues that we're really trying to narrow, and I think we're getting close there. Another thing that is, I would say, slowing it up a little is their references been, there's a lot of documents they wanted added as exhibits that are not completed yet. So in order to have a complete finalized annexation agreement, we need those exhibits to be in final form too. So instead of just referencing them, which is what the village started to do to try to expedite it, they want final agreements, the various components added as exhibits as well, which is fine. We're essentially not opposed to that, but it does slow down the approval process because we can't approve an annexation agreement until every single one of those exhibits is finalized as well. So that, I'd say, is probably one of the biggest tasks right now, is going through that exhibits list and getting those exhibits finalized, separate and apart from the annexation agreement itself.
When you say finalized, do you mean that all the revisions are made, or we have at least an agreed upon list of revisions?
For the annexation agreement?
Plans and.
Or the exhibits? The exhibits, I think, there's so many, like, for example, like the TIP development agreement is an item they want. I have not seen it yet. I don't know what the status is, but.
No, I believe what their language that they keep proposing is final. We're done.
Oh yeah, they wanted approved as part of the, sorry, I didn't answer your
In the
question.
past, we've had engineering that had comments, and, you address all the comments as well as issues.
We proposed that type of approach, and they want.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. They want everything approved as part of the agreement.
To add to that, one of the exhibits is the final engineering plans and the roadway improvement engineer, the final engineering plans for the subdivision plus the IDOT plans. So those have to be in a final form, the way the language reads.
Yeah, and like with the TIP, like we conceptually agreed.
So that would write that to agreement too.
We're not suggesting that for it, but they're insisting on it. Like in our responses, we're fine with that, but that pushes the approval process back and into undetermined time.
Did I not throw any curveballs this review?
I'm looking at over there, but my understanding is that was no, that HR Green's review of their comments, they were generally actually kind of surprised it wasn't more. So I think they were pleasantly surprised, but there still are responses that have to be made. And that's separate from the Prairie Grove Commons group. Our understanding is they have contacted the other division of IDOT that deals with the access rights. It is part of the process as well, that we and them have been aware of the whole time. So for those who may not remember, beyond the normal, it's an IDOT road, you have to apply them for a permit to get access to it. Well, in this case, IDOT actually purchased the access rights close enough to probably legal correction from the landowner decades ago. So it's not just getting a permit, it's actually getting those rights back or release of those rights. Our understanding has been that if it's for public street, that there should be a fee for that. That's not done until it's done. And then still, though, it's a different process than the normal permit process. And that is, they're aware of that. They've told us their engineers is working on that.
Yeah, so it's not just the annexation agreement as a document, it's every, I think there's right now, we're up to exhibit K. So I mean, it's each exhibit, it's no standalone document as well.
Can I throw one more out?
Are we still in community development?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, still part of this. So, no, because I think it's good to keep you updated. So you're not
No, it's great. I want the board to know everything.
So staff continues to reiterate the position that the board expressed, which staff agrees with, that the development sign should be, if they put one up near 47 Van Allen, not at the gas station property at the corner. So far, they've resisted that. So as it sits today, that's one that would come back to you again. And quite frankly, to me, that feels like one of, we always like to use the phrase deal killer. But at some point, it's like, there are certain things that they have to be willing to agree with, and not that they haven't agreed with some things, but it just doesn't make sense to advance staff to locate it where they want it. The other one is that I believe at the staff level, as you'll remember, they're proposing no common area other than the stormwater detention on the property. And so they've been resistant to our desire to include the backup SSA to include any future common area, if there is any. And they very strongly resisted that. We're willing to say fine, but if they come back and propose common area, then it could create a problem in the future as far as which property is responsible for it. The other thing we've looked at is they proposed more of the REA. Yeah, which was kind of their proposal to say, well, if there's a problem on any of these properties or where the signs of the village could go in there and fix it. And our response is, well, that would be great. That was their alternative to a backup SSA. And our response, well, that's great that we can go fix it, but who pays for it? No, it's not. Right. And so we said, well, the REA gives us the right to fix it, but it gives us no means to collect the money that was spent to fix it. Well, you can lien it. Well, if they don't sell the property, that lien sits out there forever, and that's why the backup SSA works, because you property tax it. We've got but the flip side of that, though, it is similar to other situations in town. If you look at the Sugar Grove Center where Jewel is, which I believe was the same developer way back when.
Different developer, same attorney.
Okay, but there isn't common area within SSA beyond the stormwater area, which we're levying for now because it wasn't maintained. So I mentioned it tonight. We'll bring it up when it comes back. So just so the expectation is there that our ability to deal with any issues other than the stormwater that would have the backup SSA would be the property maintenance code. We would have no other method. So if they do put up those monument signs, we would, and there's a problem with them, as far as maintenance, we would have no say so who's signing, which, other than what we put in the agreement, which I think we talked about interior lots and that, but if it's a maintenance issue, we would issue a property maintenance citation. If they don't fix it, we would go to adjudication. It would be a long, drawn-out process. But that's kind of what it is in other places right now, and so it's not necessarily bad if they maintain their process. I think it's just setting up the expectation that if there are issues, there is no quick, easy fix.
Well, I think that's the reason they want the sign on the corner, so that it sits on that property owner's property. And so it isn't in a common area, it's on that specific, which in my mind is for lease agreements, right? So they're gonna lease out signage, available space on that corner sign, which it doesn't make any sense with the village, right? But that's what they're probably trying to do. And so there is no common space, but then we have no authority over that, so.
And if all we have is a detention pond that's going to be sold for taxes, then it's never going to be.
Well, that would have to back up SSA, because that's King County, so it's required against the entire property.
Well, then, that's what we're talking about tonight.
For the stormwater, but for nothing else, because there are no other common elements, so there's nothing else to back up. Right. So presumably, if they put the sign in Van Owen, it's going to go on whichever private lot. Determine whether it's north or south. I don't know that we've determined that, because I think that would have to relate back to where the ramp sign is. So it's actually not a lot. But yeah, presumably it'll be on one of those private lots down there. And yeah, whatever they work out through their REA, or whatever agreement they work out is who has access. Really, is a private agreement, which is okay.
I just want to make sure they maintain it.
Yes.
Yes, that is fact.
You can drive by those other developments all over the Chicago suburbs where those signs look nice after 5 to 7 years, and then after that, the lights start burning out, sign gets blown out, and, you know, no one, it's obvious, but you can see the whole story of what's going on here.
And I would have to defer to Laura, Walter, and Jamie to want to go forward. I don't know those type of signs, if they are typically a common element or not. If they are a common element, the backup SSA covers those. I honestly don't know.
You don't want it that way.
We want it that way, but I don't know how typical that is. But again. So.
Yeah, I don't know if it's typical, it's not uncommon. I think more communities are leaning toward having them included in SSAs. I'd say it probably just depends on the community and their specific requirements.
So probably more than you asked.
No, it's okay. That's all right. Well, no, thank you for that. Thank you, Walter. Does anyone have any additional questions for Walter?
They were still trying to get those restaurants done by summer next year, like 9 months from now, right? It ain't gonna happen.
They wanted this all wrapped up by the end of September. It's November. It's not like we're any
Just
closer.
agree everybody, yes.
So, right, exactly. All right, well, thank you, Walter. Tony?
Okay, we have some training that Public Works staff attended. Brad attended a 2-day seminar on the pavement management program that we received as part of the CMAP study. There is no cost to the village for this program or the use of it. It was all part of the study. Brad also participated in the ComEd Joint Action Center municipal board mock drill training. ComEd has that annually, and it is training with how to log into their system and communicate with ComEd during natural disasters. Also, the Public Works staff attended a chlorine safety training drill, which is hosted by the Alexander Chemical Company, which is the company that supplies our chlorine. Another one is that Brad also attended the NIU Civic Leadership Academy. That was the Lost Art of Listening was the course. And also the Public Works Department had an on-site confined space trenching and shoring training held at the Public Works facility.
A lot of training.
Yes. There was kind of a short pause with COVID that there wasn't a lot of training, and now we're able to get that up and running again. So, and then also Brad and I met with EEI, the 30% mark on the Dewey Woods Water Main Replacement Project plans. So we reviewed that, and that is progressing well. We plan, if it all goes on schedule, to have that bid out January of next year.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions for Public Works? And if you want to, I don't know, it was in an email, it was in discussion, but share salt numbers with the board?
Oh.
That's always a fun one to talk about.
We budgeted $100 a ton for 2,000 tons of salt for $200,000, and this year's bid came in at 60-some dollars a ton, which lowers it to about 70 to 80,000 less than what we budgeted. But I try not to get too excited because, you know, it's prior to winter. So, you know, if something comes in there, then there may be other expenses yet. So, but it is a good start.
And but how many tons are on hand?
Probably a little over 1,000 tons on hand.
So we're in decent shape, and here's to hoping for mild winter.
Yes. Even though they're saying, what is it, La Nina, more snow this winter, I think is the general prediction.
Is the, when you buy like salt like that, is there like an option to buy more at the same price, or is it?
120%.
120%?
Yes.
It's still legit.
You're obligated to 80% of the bid, is that correct?
Yes.
So there's room. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. And then we're out there and we're adding, what's the liquid we're adding? I mean, we do that anyway, but there was something on this Foam Green initiative. How much salt other communities are using, I know we've discussed that, but,
What's your salt used by like 30% supposedly?
okay.
It's only our second season using that product, so we don't really have a lot of data yet.
Well, that'll be interesting though, as you track that.
Yes. I
Well,
want to report one thing.
oh, I
Public Works is done.
apologize.
Public Works is painted and done. In and out. And the landscaping is done around front.
I gotta go see that.
So are we getting a hiccup at this point now with the dirt on the gray building? Or is
No,
it
it's
just?
getting washed tomorrow. They just finished landscaping this afternoon. 4 o'clock.
Excellent.
The power always came right up.
It's great. We'll bring it back. Better to know. Better to know. Can't wait to see it, actually. Did they put lawn in? Did you get sod and cut?
Oh, it's seed blanket.
It's
short
seed
season
blanket.
now, so probably have to visit.
So there's still dirt, is what you're saying?
Well, it has blanket overlay, so.
There's still there.
Now we can see buildings. So.
All right, Matt?
Yeah, I'll apologize. I'm not sure if my report didn't make it. The packet, I'll send it out tomorrow.
Okay.
Just a couple quick updates. The actual budget document, that full big document, I finally caught up from the turnover during the beginning of the year, so that should be posted by the end of the week. Just waiting on a couple of final things, so that'll be on the website. And we are through 6 months, so currently we are projecting to do the 6-month projection update, the first meeting in December. So at that time, we'll also probably do a ARPA funds update. There may not be anything, we haven't heard anything lately, but we'll do that all at the same time.
Okay. It came in my brain and it left as you were saying that about, but that's also at the same time, staff internally is doing all of their budget meetings within your own department, I assume, getting it over to Matt. At the same time, the 6 month is going to come in front of us.
Yeah, so the 6-month projection update will be for fiscal year 21-22 to kind of update to see what we project for the end of the year, and then actual budget for the following year will start in December, and then not come to board until probably end of February. But internally, each department is doing the 6-month budget updates for their departments.
As part of,
Represented at the same time.
and I know as part of that review, we'll go over the TIF balances, TIF 1 and TIF 2. I am curious, you'll have to correct my memory because you know how I get a little foggy sometimes, but we did declare one. I thought we were talking about declaring a second. Not sure if that happened or if those funds.
It did not.
Okay.
So that usually will come to the board for declaration.
Okay.
Surplus.
Okay. So we'll discuss that. We can discuss that when we have fund balance and then we'll
Yes.
look forward to that.
Last year was right around the same time. Actually, I think we did 6-month budget update. The next meeting we declared.
Well, and strangely, we've been talking about the senior center, you know, as a building. But we keep using the number of, I want to say 50,000 property taxes. I looked the other day, it's at 99.
Is it really?
It's at 99. So, yeah.
The
The over 55 building behind Walgreens that is located inside that district was producing roughly 44 to 49,000 in property tax increment and going into the tip. It's at 99. I looked at their tax bill because I was trying to get a comparable for something. I was trying to figure out how it's not that it's an apple and an apple, but how much Prairie Point might produce in increments. So I referred to this building and I looked and I was shocked when I saw 99. But that's what it's up to. Yeah.
Did one of those recently file for an appeal of their taxes?
Prairie Point.
Prairie Point.
Correct.
So the memory care.
Yes. And then the village's practice in the past, and we don't get them every year, but we do get them occasionally. And, we take a look at them. We've never filed an appearance or checked or whatever you do. I mean, typically we kind of start with the position of we're such a small piece of the tax bill. We know we go to all the other taxing bodies, so there's a higher vested interest from somebody else. If they felt the need to and reached out to us to say, hey, will you help participate in this issue? I think we would consider it at that time, but I don't, from memory, I don't think that's ever happened where there's been an effort by any of the taxing bodies to fight them. Again, we don't get a lot.
Yeah.
We do get them occasionally.
No, in the past, it's generally just Walgreens. This is the first year that it's really done anybody besides Walgreens. Scott did one a couple of years ago. But every year Walgreens does it. It's just part of their
part of their business
process.
plan.
Yeah, so we got Walgreens and Prairie Point.
Well, I haven't looked at theirs. It was months ago I looked at Prairie Point, but obviously I thought it was low. I thought it was low based on the fact that it was not occupied, obviously, and now that it's open, but I haven't looked recently to see. Maybe I was looking at last year's tax, so I'm curious. I'll have to look at that. Okay, well, I'm looking
Yeah, well, this year would have been based on last year.
Right.
So it could be because it was unoccupied and not finished either.
Yeah. Well, that's always an interesting topic, and I know that we're, talking about development and TIF districts, and obviously we had a meeting with the school board recently, well, not the school board, with the superintendent of schools and some other neighboring municipalities, and so we very aware of everybody's need, and if we're not using it directly for something here, then obviously declaring surplus and getting some money back to the other taxing bodies is probably a good thing to do. So look forward to that. Thank you. Chief.
Just to recap of tonight, earlier on, just because I know it was part of the meeting packet, but the Board of Police Commissioners at the October 27th special meeting vetted all the candidates that were on the promotional list, and they selected Ramon Alvarez as the next Sherry-Road Police Sergeant. So tonight was momentous. It was very wonderful to have that many people present, different taxing bodies from the fire department and from our own police department come out and support. And thank you to the board and President Conan and special dignitaries. So we did a judge that Ramon has known over the years that we work together, and also the King County State's Attorney Jamie Monster was present during this, and that's not common. So it speaks volumes, and it also puts Sugar Grove out there as a reminder. As big as King County is, it's nice to have that presence known. So we're looking for some great opportunities ahead for us as a command staff, and the professionalism of our department forward. So thank you for coming out and supporting us in the process. For those, we left the 4 brand new squad cars up front. They're on display. We're ready for the test drive after the meeting. So they are still going to be sitting idle for a while. We still have to wait for additional exterior parts to come in, other components that will be delayed, just more than usual. No one's keeping items on shelves anymore in the warehouses. They're being pretty much built as you put your order in. So we're still months out before it gets to the outfitter for installing and then finally getting them out here. So we're still driving the current cars, and then hopefully nothing happens. We'll get them going as soon as we can. So, and then just as a side note, on Saturday, this past Saturday, two Saturdays ago, was to drop off prescription for the National Take Back program, and continue to have a positive impact in the community. And this was the largest amount, not just from that Saturday, but combined since the last time in April, the largest amount that we collected by us for prescription drugs to take back. 337 pounds, a few ounces beyond that or turned into the DEA. And when we pulled up, they're like, well, how much did you say you had? So there's 14 boxes that got turned in. It was huge for our size community. And I know we service many communities around us because you can go online and just see who's doing the data collection. So you don't have to be a registered voter, but it's nice that we're collecting it and keeping it out of their hands and turning it into some other child or an adult that's getting a hold of it. And it becomes a bigger problem to society. So we're grateful that we're able to offer that and provide that service back to the general and greater community of Sugar Grove.
That's great. I was just looking at the police cars, the photo, and I'm thinking, if you just parked them on an angle, right, we would look like every other car dealership.
No,
but there's no cars behind it, and you've got them on the front edge, and they're parked on that side, and we could be the dealership that we would maybe hope for. Oh, gosh. Well, thank you, and congratulations to Sergeant Alcaraz. How do you say? I don't really know. Ramon! I got that right. We're happy to have them move on up in the race, and we were just discussing the badges. I was, because I was curious. When he took the one off, I said, "You get to keep your previous badge." And he kind of looked at me like, "I don't even know. Chief has it, and they're not numbered, right?" So
they're not numbered, So we currently those, it's something that's it's a great opportunity for them to do that. Sometimes we do shadow boxes when someone retires, and we provide them with a badge for each of the ranks that you attend. But right now, we haven't in the past, to my knowledge, let them keep the patrol officer's badge, so they get recycled and the next officer gets it. But it's something that we consider if that's what you would like us to do.
I think that's nice. I don't know what the cost is to do that. It's so funny because I don't. Sugar Grove, we're very thrifty, but that means a lot to him and his family and his service, and it says when it's done. So I think that is something I'm 100% open to. I can't imagine I don't know how much a badge costs, but. And what's the process with the fact that some are, like, I imagine, do you have a number on your badge? So is it different? You have to just educate me. Is it different depending on where you are with the city, maybe having them numbered versus our village has stars, I think, is too?
So the general badges that everyone wears currently here do not have badge numbers on. If it's embroidered, we assume included on it. But it's something that this specific particular, we can do it. There's a place to put the badge number if we wanted to do that. But again, as you said, in the past, we recycled a lot of officers through Sugar Grove. So they haven't done, to my knowledge, it hasn't been done. Officers that are full-time and they carry a wallet badge, that's where, and that one, their badge number is in it.
Okay.
But on the outside, it's not. But we ask the officer to display their badge number because people have a right, what's your badge number?
Right.
It usually says their name and the badge number adjacent to it.
Okay.
But we do have that option available. So we're okay if we want to change the split with how the display of the badge looks like.
Interesting. Did anybody have an opinion about that? I go to Matt. What's the good policy?
Why don't you let staff discuss it?
Okay. I also want the board to weigh in. I'm curious on finances and pros and cons, but I think it's a nice.
We order badges for different things at the department. So the Marines get during their month, they get to wear a Marine badge. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we wear pink badges. We order those, they're replicas of the badges we currently have. However, the cost usually ranges between like $195 to $300 a badge. And I'm assuming that it would probably be on the higher end of badges. They're a little bit larger. The shields vary to the stars. So if I had to guesstimate, I would say it'd probably be around $300-ish for a badge to be made. So I don't know if that helps at all. Badge numbers, in my opinion, I think that is not really a necessity. I mean, most of the officers don't really wear the hard badge anymore. They wear the covers that has it stitched in. It's a little bit more practical for work. and like Chief said, their badge number is stitched in it then, correct? Yeah, so, it's more of just the dress uniform that you'll be wearing the actual hardcover badge for. So.
Yeah, well, it's something to think about. Obviously, it's a different mentality with promotion versus leading, so what someone might want as memorabilia for themselves versus,
I would think at that price point, as officers are being promoted, I think that's nominal in the grand scheme of things. That's a part of the reward and the congratulations.
I think I forgot to say, we actually are required to pay for them ourselves. So the city does not pay for them. They'll give us a bill, $199, and we must pay for them. Not I'm serious. So
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that, did you do a few years ago commemorative badge? I can't remember something that officers had to pay for if they wanted it. Am I mistaken?
That was typically their flat wallet badge. We provide them 2 shields. So full-time officers and a part-time officer get one shield. If you want a flat wallet badge, so it's not curved and it doesn't have the pin in the back to go through your uniform, it goes into an actual wallet. They can get that out of their uniform allowance. So, and that's typically where they ask for the badge number to be embossed within that. So, because that one, if they lose, they pay for it, so they want it back.
Right.
So, or if they got misplaced or, put down somewhere, so. But yeah.
Definitely discuss.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Chief? Thanks for I didn't have it this evening, but thanks for the cake. It was enjoyed by many. Yeah, there's a few over there. Brent.
Can provide updates to a couple items mentioned in my board report. We did have our meeting with Oregon Park today at Village Hall. Good meeting. Just the next iteration. They came back with a updated square footage needs, if you will, chart, and then also an updated floor plan, not detailed, but showing the spaces. And the latest design is a 2-story facility, and they are trying to work toward a budget number based on the highest amount that the Matt gave scenario several months ago. That we have the next fall meetings in the next 2 weeks, so we're continuing to work on that. We had this afternoon, there was a meeting, as mentioned in my board report, with the property owner of what I call Stettler Bridge South, essentially the property south of Prairie that was part of Stettler Bridge annexation. President Cohen and Trustee White were also at the meeting, along with Walter and myself, and it really was the property owner just kind of curious as to what the village was thinking. We might want to see down there, and there was an acknowledgement from the village that the original annexation agreement from 2004 really probably isn't applicable today. From everything from the specific land uses in there to the offsite improvements to the fees and a number of things. So it was a nice meeting, but nothing real specific as part of that. Lastly, the Economic Development Director position. The posting in the International Economic Development Council will go out next Monday. It'll go live, and through the Illinois Economic Development Association, it should go live by Friday. So we'll see what kind of a response we get on that. And one other thing that I've been talking a little bit to Matt about, and we'll follow up with you more on maybe just to get you thinking, is that as we look at TIFs and general fund budgeting and cost of this effort, Matt was able to confirm with our TIF consultant that should the village choose, some portion of that expense could be charged to the TIF districts very legitimately. So that's something that we'll do a little bit more exploration on to give you some numbers. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but kind of just mentioning that to you that is a legitimate TIF expense. And we have some concepts on how you would calculate to do that. We'll throw something at you sometime in the next couple months. That's my update.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Brent? I reserve the right to come back to you.
Sounds good, absolutely.
So, thank you. Trustee Bonnie, trustee report.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Trustee Walter?
There's a corn boil meeting on the 21st, and they, of course, are looking forward to having corn boil come back in 22. They sent out donation letters, and it does, just so everybody knows, it takes about $40,000 to $50,000 to put on the corn boil, so obviously the donations are extremely important. They're going out for other insurance quotes. As you know, that was a big deterrent this year. It's up to $15,000 for insurance, when it was running like $1,500-ish. So we're looking at that. They had one village, it's a great board. I know everybody wasn't on the call, but a village restaurant owner who also does the food vending at many events throughout the summer said that 2021 was an amazing year. 35% increase in sales, and that's with 5 less food trucks, if you will, or it's just using going to 4 events a weekend instead of 9, because there's nobody to employ the full 9, higher wages. So, but it was an extremely good year, and they expect 2022 to be just as good. What else? Looking for music vendors or music bands and that, and they are looking to bring in more revenue and have people stay longer. Is potentially looking at doing fireworks on Sunday night, because Sunday is kind of just a dead day. That is something that other villages have been doing and has been very successful for their events. So that's kind of the update on that. Still a long ways away, but it's in the works.
I know I've been to a couple of those meetings in the past, and you very rarely get their financials of where they are, and what's in reserves, and I know they have some reserves. The reason they didn't move it forward this year is they would have gone through all of that and then some, right? But I, in the spring, talked to Rich Harvest Farms because they weren't sure about their fireworks. I believe that I don't know, so just as a follow-up question to them, he said he was going to take care of the fireworks. I don't know if that's been paid for and they're sitting on that, because again, you don't see their financials. But just keep that in mind, that he has, I know there's maybe some years that he hasn't done, but he's fully supportive of the firework effort.
Yes, there are definitely, they talk about a contingency fund reserves that they need to up that in the coming years. So.
Well, that's good. Thank you for the update. I think that one of the things that we do well, when you compare close proximity to us, which is Elburn, and what, we try to do better, that they do better, and so to speak. But the fact that and I know it's not easy for chief, but the whole liquor consumption and alcohol consumption and it being more open to the area versus restrictive in what Elburn has as their little beer garden, if you will, creates the congestion. It certainly did this year, and it's better that we operate the way we do. So hopefully they can find some more revenue streams and maybe get rid of things that aren't needed or warranted. But we look forward to that update, and I know the community is looking forward to moving it forward. Thanks, Ryan. Mr. Huron.
Parent conferences tomorrow and Thursday. Nothing else to report. That's the back going on right now.
Yeah. So for all of you, kids are not in school Thursday, Friday this week. They have school tomorrow. As far as we're on the school topic, so I don't know, Chief, if someone either from the department can talk to the middle school stick-up. Some of these parents do not have this figured out. It's so frustrating. I road rage there every time. Every time. And the kids, by the time they get in my car, I'm hitting my steering wheel because they don't. I mean, the simplest thing, I'm getting with the kids are like, Mom, why don't you wear a traffic? I'm like, if I can get a traffic thing, I would park my car, get the cones, and move them along. And I don't want the police department to do it. Someone from the building needs to go outside and move the traffic along. There are gaps. You'll have a car and they'll stop right in the crosswalk. Well, I want to pick my kid up right here. Well, that's not how this works. You need to move all the, so it's just very And I really do. My poor kids get in the car and I can't even ask them about the day, because I have road raged at that point.
Our volunteer police badge is cheaper than.
Deputized.
I'm supposed to be a peace officer, and I'm like, girl, move your car. Don't call me when I'm in the lineup at the middle school. It's very stressful. Oh, gosh. And I do the right thing, too, and it still doesn't work. And that's why I'm so, oh, and then you get, if you're late and you come around and you're on the front of door near the stop sign and all the cars pull out way too early, so now you're backed up. Well, if you're coming off a Harder, they just get right in line. I'm like, do you not see me here doing the right thing? So the other day, I had to literally pull out from the front of door, go to Harder, turn around, and get there and just disobey like everybody else. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh.
do we have anything that says the President Pro Tem can jump in?
Nothing further to report.
I think I need a light on top of my car.
30 seconds.
Oh, it's down. But that, you know, I thought it was so great. I'm like, it's going really well. Everybody's doing it. And then I'm like, no, it's not. So anyway, if someone from the building can do their job after school, it would be much appreciated. Oh, anyway, Trustee White.
All I can report is I did not engage in any road rage.
Go to middle school.
Give yourself a few years. Right?
All right, thank you. Trustee Lundy. All right. Trustee Shomas.
Yeah, just one meeting in between the Aurora Area Convention Bureau. It was held in their offices in Aurora. And not a whole lot to discuss, kind of reviewing budgets and that sort of stuff. It was a typical meeting. I think it's just time of the year. To tell you the truth, as we're kind of wrapping stuff up. They hosted someone from the state. I don't remember who it was. I took notes and somehow or another didn't get saved. So I'm lacking details on it. But they hosted someone from the governor's office through some of the local farms and sort of events that they do for fall fests and that sort of stuff. And individuals was pretty impressed. They do continue to ask me, the meeting that you and I were at the beginning, when you made mention about some discussion with a hotelier, any other news on that?
Yeah. Well, that would be located
So
on the same property we're having issues. So we're just trying to get a little bit of something going on.
I know.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the only thing I had that mind. Oh, there was a mention in one of the status updates. I'm guessing you're going to report on it with respect some discussions that happened with the King County Park District and the pedestrian Forest Ridge. Forest Ridge. I'm sorry.
I haven't had a new conversation.
All right. I thought there was a point in one of the updates that.
Well, that's good that you're reading it. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say
that there was a statement from them saying that they didn't seem very amenable to it.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think our interpretation is that they went along with the pushing the project forward, doing the engineering that needed to be done, paying for whatever portion was left out of the 80-20 split between the grant and the remaining contribution, but they have no interest in ownership. I think I mentioned in the last board meeting that I had talked to King County Chairman, Madam Chair, and it's just, I just don't foresee it happening. I don't think Brent is of a different mindset. I spoke to our county board member. He just doesn't foresee that they want any part of ownership. So we have some minor hurdles, nothing Tony doesn't think we can get through to get this project going.
Okay.
But right now we're talking about ownership, really, unless Brent has something else to add regarding it, but ownership between the township, the village, and I don't know who will own it, but an IGA to say we'll all maintain it. But Go ahead.
No, the other thing I was gonna add is the Karen Park District graciously volunteered to reach out to her contacts to get a better handle on expected maintenance costs. Because before all this takes plunge, we want to have a better idea, because none of us maintain
That's right.
bridges like that.
And they've got 7 or 8 of them
Yeah,
along
but,
that stretch,
yeah,
that
so-
they
so-
should know.
So Karen's reaching out to contacts, I'm sure, in multiple places to, our expectation is that for a number of years, maintenance costs should be very minimal.
Correct.
It's a brand new bridge, and so there may be some, painting this, that, and the other thing, and eventually, I think depending upon the design, maybe the decking surface, and I have no ideas, I'm kind of looking over there, if I want to throw anything out 20, 25 years or something, maybe, we don't really envision that being significant until way in the future, but we'd still like to have some idea what we're all signing on to before
For sure.
we do it.
Wouldn't we still have the same expenses under an IGA as we would, assuming that, of course, everybody pays what they're supposed to?
Well, I think
Liability though?
well, part of it really was the, trying to get the Forest Reserve to be an ongoing partner, which doesn't necessarily appear that they're willing to do that.
Right.
And then one of the issues, which is the reference to what Tony's looked into, is that at the time the initial grant was applied for several years ago, if the county was listed as being the owner. So we have to work through the process for the grant. If the county, the Forest Reserve, is not going to be the owner, that they local will, which hopefully is just a process and not an obstacle.
Okay. I'm sorry, Trustee Shulman, do you have anything?
That is it.
Okay, so thank you for bringing that up and updating, and so everybody knows where we stand on that. I'm sure you saw the email. We don't get feedback, kind of like, Joe's asking for some feedback from us, which we'll work on. Hopefully the emails that Brent sends to the board are helpful, that you know what's happening and you're getting a lot of information from those. We don't hear anything, so if you don't have questions, we don't know, but hopefully that's working out. So some of the stuff that I might say here in the boardroom hopefully is like a refresher of an email that you received from Brent as to updates that we're doing. So one was recently the CMAP and the steering committee that we talked about that internally with staff and trying to do representation from not only business owners, landowners, and residents throughout the community in different geographic areas as well as different demographics. So, we're working on that. What is this? I don't know this. Okay. I just as a reminder to everyone, because I'm not able to make it on Thursday, the Chamber, Sugar Grove Chamber After Hours is being hosted at the library. That's this Thursday. And Senator Villa will be there. So, again, as a reminder, please someone, does anyone know if they can make it offhand on Thursday evening?
I got parent-teacher conferences.
It's fine if you can't, then I might have to deflect to staff. Can we get any staff members to go and on the behalf of the village, talk to her about the pedestrian crossing?
Yeah, I'm planning on this.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
The more the merrier, obviously.
Yeah.
It is 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay. I appreciate that, and then hopefully there's an update or hopefully a meeting can be scheduled with her. Yes. Oh, and the big news, which I apologize for not sharing this with you directly. So we have a developer that we have been in talks with that is paying for basically, I guess, a feasibility, right? I don't know what kind of study. I'm not exactly sure either. Whether just feasibility might be the wrong word, but they've hired a consultant. Contract has been signed. I believe the contract went out Monday to be signed. To hire this consultant to look at specifically the property. Well, they might look at one in particular, but the area in what Sugar Grove will come in for housing, commercial, town center projects. So there is a study being done, paid for by another developer, to try to move that along, which is very exciting. So someone that's a supporter, a company that's a supporter of the village is offered to pay for that study. So when that study gets presented to us, which it'll get shared with us, it'll get shared with the community, it'll probably get put on an agenda as an update. I think we moved the town center update from next board meeting to the first meeting in December, because I feel like the study will be back by that time, so that will be able to share.
Who's doing this?
Lance, I'm trying to think of Lance's company. He is used by,
Metro study?
huh?
Metro study? So basically it's a market study.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he's used, Carrie Hansen and Shopee Design, they use him. Jim Hughes has used him. Do you know Lance?
Well, I don't know him, but I know that.
Well,
it's good that they're doing it.
Yeah.
Number one, it's a good chunk of change.
It's expensive, right?
And it really is good at telling you what you can expect the market could be for development of.
And that's exactly it. Before we get anyone on the, this is a necessary part of the process, and so we're moving it forward, which is exciting. And hopefully, I mean, the last meeting I sat in on, this particular consultant is doing these in other areas right now, one of which was the Arlington Heights project. Yeah, it was, they actually did a proposal for another developer in that area, and they're seeing that this, this new urbanism kind of design is working in the Chicagoland area. So my gut based on the meeting was that there is a market, but he's going to go do the due diligence and present the study. So looking forward to that.
It was something that we would have had to do it anyways.
And the hard part is, the developer's doing it, not the village, right? We have one little part of this. We have a need in what we're trying to accomplish, but we're not going to do the whole.
It's going to help us identify which developers to look at coming to do it.
Exactly right. Exactly. And so I'm looking forward to that. But that's what I wrote. I can read my own notes. Sorry, guys. Last thing, so I think you all saw it, but we will next meeting, right, have a developer in front of the village board with a proposal and a project in close proximity to the village hall on the property behind us, 113 acres on municipal in Galena. There will be a developer that comes in and presents. So that will be put out there to the public to come and comment, but it is just for discussion and really for that developer to present to all of you where we can have an open discussion together. So that is coming. And that is it. And that's all I have. I mean, take my time check, official. I have 7:34 according to that, but that's fast. 7:32. 7:32, Allison. Motion over here. We got a first. Second on Shomas. Roll call, please, Allison.
Trustee White?
No.
Trustee Shomas?
Aye.
Trustee Lundy? Aye. Trustee Bonnie?
Aye.
Trustee Walter?
Aye.
Trustee Harrell?
Aye.
And please stay and gather in the middle for a vote.
Thank you. Motion passes. Meeting adjourned, everyone.